What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and I have yet another album review for you. And one that I definitely wanted to cover since we covered this band's debut, and I'm always kind of curious about like the second offering from a band. Like, let's see where they go from there, maybe avoid the sophomore slump, etc. So we are going to go over the latest album from Vexed, Negative Energy. This also comes out on the 23rd of June on Napalm Records. This band formed in the UK in, I believe, 2018. That's at least when all the members seem to have met up. I don't know if they officially formed as a band at that point, but that's kind of what I'm going with. As I said, this is their second album. We covered their debut, Culling Culture, and admittedly, I was a bit lukewarm on it, though I did praise the vocal calisthenics of Megan Target, who once again does a fantastic job on here. And to describe this band's sound, I mean, I've seen the term alt metal, alternative metal thrown out, but there's a lot of deathcore, I would say gent, maybe metallic hardcore, because there's definitely some stuff in here that reminds me of bands like, Jesus Piece, maybe a little bit of Knocked Loose, but there's also a lot of gent riffs. And in fact, how this opens with the I guess, intro track / opening breakdown, PTSD, it kind of reminds me of how, Veil of Maya used to open up their albums with just like a clever, quick breakdown, and then was on to the first actual track. This was back when I actually listened to Veil of Maya up until they changed vocalists, and then I really just kind of stopped caring. On the surface, this album is very similar to Culling Culture in the sense that it is built on breakdowns, grooves, lots of syncopation, and of course, Megan demonstrating her vocal prowess all over the place. I'm probably going to gush a little bit about what all she does. Deep death metal roars, high-pitched screams. Her cadences, I think, are one of the most impressive things she does in terms of like finding a unique pattern to follow in the song. Good example is We Don't Talk About It. She actually takes on almost like the double bass patterns of like a gent song with her vocals, while the drum pattern is more of just a straightforward 4/4 time sort of bounce. She follows the chug, but she actually adds like more flair on top of these chugs, and it's actually awesome. Like, she has these tirades, these fucking fits of viciousness that are just so steeped in anger you can just fucking feel it. But also towards the end of the album, on songs like Default, This Is Not the End, and Trauma Euphoria, she shows off her clean range, which is fantastic as well. So she pretty much has everything she needs to adapt to whatever sort of stylistic change this band goes through. But admittedly, there isn't much that has changed, though I would say that this band has gotten better at what they do. Where one of my main complaints on Culling Culture was the fact that a lot of the riffs lacked character. They were kind of just, kind of run-of-the-mill, genty chugs. There's lots of like weird bends and slides and accents and what I would call alarm clock riffs kind of peppered in, but for the most part, they were just kind of there. Like, they were just driving the rhythm a little bit more and not adding much on top of that. Here, I think they get outside of that a little bit, albeit, of course you have a lot of just genty chugs and bends and all that stuff in here. But songs like We Don't Talk About It and No Place Like Home actually have some really clever hooks and melodies. Like, they kind of get outside of just chugging relentlessly. They kind of just decide to save those for the stupid heavy fucking breakdowns on here, which, I mean, if you love breakdowns, you're gonna fucking love a good chunk of this album. A lot of this is very rooted in like, kind of like straightforward 4/4 time rhythms that just have like, clever bass drum patterns or like a cymbal accent. A lot of this is just groove heavy and built to make you bob your head and fucking want to mosh. And outside of maybe Extremis, it really doesn't escape that. Extremis kind of goes more like back to Meshuggah's earlier years when it was a little bit faster and the rhythms were still a little bit more chaotic. Not saying Meshuggah's not like chaotic now, but it might have been more chaotic in the past. But it's more of an off-time drum pattern, and the syncopation is like a little bit more kind of turned on its head, and that honestly allows Megan to do some of the coolest fucking vocal cadences on it. How she's able to break up her verses are really fucking cool in there, and again, delivering it with such anger and fucking just viciousness. And a lot of that has to do with the subject matter, which generally I don't really get into lyrical themes, but a lot of this is very relatable in the sense that it's a lot about personal traumas. These are very dark personal lyrics about, going through loss, I believe body dysmorphia is one of the subjects covered here. The strange social climate that we are in. I mean, the song Nepotism is pretty much fuck billionaires, the song, which I know with the current events going on at the bottom of the ocean, we're all kind of like, should we talk shit about them? Like, part of me really wants to, because like literally that was the derpiest fucking Titanic adventure I think in the history of man so far. So while I wish those submerged idiots a safe return for the sake of their families, I'm also gonna say that was just fucking stupid. But back to the lyrics and themes, I actually really like the brutal honesty of it. It matches the brutal music overall, because a lot of this is just insanely heavy. Like, it's just chug central and vicious, and again with these lyrical themes and being less positive and uplifting about them. Like, they're not saying, hey, things are gonna get better. They're saying, no, this is what we are currently going through, and the music itself is probably our catharsis right now. And you can feel that in the atmosphere in this album. Like, in the more quiet moments when they're not chugging your face into the ground, you have like droning ambience in the back. Megan does this weird sort of like looped breath part on Cross My Heart, Hope to Die. It's generally just kind of unnerving because she kind of turns these breaths into a beat. I know it's like kind of like done in the studio. Like, if she tries to do that live, I'm hoping she doesn't like, pass out or anything like that, because that sounds tricky. There are sections where the vocals seem a little bit more muffled. They occasionally sound more desperate in terms of the screams. There's even a atmospheric little break on DMT where there's some spoken word, and honestly the song kind of sounds a little cynic-y. Like, it just has that sort of like spacey, lush, atmospheric sound. It's not a heavy track at all, because it kind of like serves as a setup to Nepotism at the end. But I think moments like that gives this album a little bit more depth than Calling Culture had. And I think they got better when it came down to delivering like the more melodic hooks in here, especially with Megan's clean vocals. It's Not the End. I think I fucked up and said This Is Not the End last time. Anyway, the song's called It's Not the End, is the longest track on the album, and one of the most melody-centric ones. And honestly, Megan goes through all of her different vocal dynamics on this one. You have really excellent, clean singing on here. But she does the whole contrasting flip to harsh vocals, and this has probably like one of the biggest choruses on the album. And you can feel all the emotion that goes into it. It's a really excellent song and explores a lot of dynamics that may or may not really show up on the rest of the album. Trauma Euphoria kind of does the same thing. It is more set up as a single, whereas you get like the more harsh verses and then this big, huge chorus on it, which the chorus in that song is really catchy. Honestly, it kind of reminded me of like a Genty Seven Dust to a degree. Like, it has that level of hook on it. But with all the things I think that they improved on this one, I still definitely have some issues, and they are kind of carryover from the first one. One, I think the production is, again, like too overproduced. That's more of a personal preference, but everything feels like, I don't know, just too polished, clean, and there's a lot of extra effects on everything here. I'm reasonably sure they can replicate this stuff live, but I feel like there's just a lot of extra effects on everything, and that kind of takes away from like the natural sound of it. And the other big complaint is at 45 minutes, I feel like this album definitely has some filler tracks. There's just a lot of tracks that do the same thing and they don't stand apart from one another. It's almost to the point where I feel like they could combine a couple of these tracks and make a longer track, and it might actually stand out a little bit more, namely because it's longer, because a lot of this is kind of like right on the 3.5 minute to 3 minute song length on almost every song. It's Not the End, Nepotism, and I think there's one other one that clock over the 4 minute mark, but the rest of them are very concise, very straight to the point, but also kind of just there. And again, delivering on a lot of the same things the other tracks are delivering on. Like, you're guaranteed a fucking breakdown. You're guaranteed syncopated grooves. You're guaranteed relentless chugging on every track. You're guaranteed all sorts of killer fucking vocals on here too. But at a certain point, like, the songs kind of just start running into one another. And while I don't necessarily dislike any track on here, I think they're all really well done. I just feel like they're a little too similar. Like Anti-Flesh, Panic Attack, Lay Down Your Flowers, they are all kind of similar. Granted, I think the subject matter changes on each track, which that's really good, but the music, I feel, still stays inside of a box for the most part. But I will say that this is an improvement over their debut. I think there are elements that are starting to come out in this band that are going to make them stand out a little bit more, because I mean, I think at this point they just feel like Spiritbox's doppelganger. Like, they are the more vicious version of them. They're the ones that really want to be just heavier than shit, but they can also do all the, you know, fun poppy melodies that Spiritbox is known for. And that's probably why I like this band a little bit more than Spiritbox. Like, I've seen Spiritbox, they were okay, but I just don't get the mass appeal of them. But this band, I can definitely get into more often. So overall, I'm going to give this 3 stars. I think I gave the last one 2.5 stars. I think this is definitely an improvement over that one. I do think it is a bit long, and it does get kind of repetitive, but there are some really good standout tracks in here. And once again, Megan Target is just doing all sorts of killer stuff vocally. Like, she really has like quite an impressive range. I think the riff work gets a little bit more clever, and I think the melodies on here are more pronounced, especially when they go to the clean vocals. I'm not saying they should do that all the time, but those really break up a lot of the songs. And, you know, that whole run of clean songs, granted it's, you know, a little too far near the end there, are really solid songs. And again, I like the brutal honesty and brutal in-your-face nature of the music overall. If you're a big fan of like early Veil of Maya or Knocked Loose or like Jesus Piece or even Spiritbox to a degree, definitely check this band out. It's just chug and groove central, and if you like that, you're probably gonna dig this. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you would like to help us out there, there's a link down below at thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is down there, as well as our store, which we will be loading up in shirts at some point. Again, we just got a couple of hurdles we got to get over, and when we have them, we will definitely let you know, and I can't wait. We also have a giveaway going on for when we hit 15,000 subscribers. All you have to do is comment on the video down below and you are entered. If you've not commented on that one yet, I would get on it, because we are less than 70 away from hitting this mark. Once we hit that 15,000 mark, I'm going to do a video after I do a comment randomizer and announce the winner, and that winner will get a stack of 11 CDs. They need a happy home, and I'm looking forward to giving them away. And of course, thank you all so much for getting us to this point. Without you, man, we would not be doing anything, probably. We would probably be just sitting around twiddling our thumbs and like, yeah, this album's cool. And it would probably go no further than that. I mean, of course, there'd still be dick jokes, because that's us. But, you know, you guys have made this so worthwhile, and I can't thank you guys enough, so I'm gonna continue doing it. So once again, thank you all so much, and we will catch you later.